Hi there, my dear students. I'd like to welcome you to this new lesson. Before going to get started, I'd like to express my heartfelt condolences for those died in the last couple of days while fighting coronavirus across the world, especially those died in Bangladesh, including Dr. Moin Uddin, and professor of Sylhet Medical College Hospital. So please don't get outside or stay inside. Please show respect to the authority for your own sake, for the sake of your families, for, for the sake of all the people across the country. Please don't let it spread anymore. Just keep in mind, if you're conscious enough, you will be able to fight this the outbreak of coronavirus, and thus you'll be able to save yourselves as well as your family members and all others. Dear students, today I'm here with a lesson for you. The lesson is for the honors second year students studying English literature at a national university. The course I'll be dealing with today uh, is History of English Literature. Students usually are seen facing difficulties dealing with this very course. Actually, this is very interesting, especially for the students of English literature to know the history of England as well as the social history of England and its relationship with literature, with the production of literature. Actually, literature is nothing but the recollection of the history. Uh, Literature produced in different ages reflect the very issues, socio-political as well as uh, religious and other issues of that so very society. Uh, Today, I'll be dealing with the Restoration Age, one of the most important ages uh, in English literature. Restoration, as the name suggests, something was restored in place of something else. So, uh, Restoration Age actually started with the restoration of monarchy in England. In 1649, the Commonwealth period started with Oliver Cromwell taking power, and in 1660, the monarchy was restored in the throne of England as the king was restored. I mean, Charles II, the son of the beheaded King Charles I, took the power. So, this is about the change of government system, that is from Commonwealth to kingship. The age extends from 1660 to 1700. So this is the period we call the Restoration Age. The restoration of King Charles II in 1660 marks the beginning of a new era both in the life and the literature of England. The change of government from commonwealth to kingship corresponded to a change in the mode of the nation. The students in this period, the Renaissance, delight in this world and the unlimited possibilities of the exploration of the world, and the moral zeal and honestness of the Tudor spirit could no more fascinate the people of England. So this is actually an age of religious controversy, and the revolution of 1688 deeply influenced the social life and the literary movements of the age. Let's have a look to the age, how it was like, what the social condition or the political situation, how the religious situation was, how the king is to deal with the people, and what's the relationship between the government system as well as the people. Uh, the restoration of church brought about a revolutionary change in life and literature. During this period, gravity, moral earnestness, and decorum in all things was distinguished the Puritan period that went away with the ascending of Charles II, were thrown to the winds. The natural instincts which were suppressed during the previous era came to violent excesses. How the king was, that is, Charles II, who went on exile in 1649 when his father George I was beheaded by Oliver Cromwell. So, during Commonwealth period, the new king, I mean George II, was on exile in France. So he came back from France and took the power of England in 1660. So what did actually he bring about with him from France? Let's see. If we look into the character of George II, we see him as a lecherous king. He had a number of mistresses and numerous children. He was surrounded by corrupt and degenerate ministers. Profligacy was glorified in the royal court. Corruption was rampant in all walks of life. Some of the critics say that the Great Fire of 1665 and the plague that followed were popularly regarded as suitable punishments for the sins of the profligate and selfish king. While London was burning, the people were suffering, the king and his nobles kept up their revels. So, this is actually an assessment of the king by the critics. Thus, he caused the people suffer from various calamities due to his profligacy, his corrupted activities, his own corruption, and the corruption of his own ministers, and the so-called indiscipline in the overall social and political arena of England. The beginning of the Restoration began the process of social transformation. Social transformation, keep in mind. The atmosphere of gaiety and cheerfulness, of licentiousness and moral laxity was restored with the ascending of the King Charles II. The theatre was reopened. There was stern reaction against the morality of the Puritans. Morality was on the wane. There was laxity everywhere in life. All these tendencies the age are clearly reflected in the literature of the period too. There obviously did have some positive changes or transformation which were brought about by George II. Uh, Among those, there was a rapid development of science. The establishment of the Royal Society was a landmark in the history of England. The interest in science began to grow. The growing interest in science resulted in the beginning of rational inquiry and scientific and objective outlook. Objectivity, rationality, and intellectual quality also enlivened the literature of this period. The king was very much impressed by the French culture, French lifestyle, French laxity. So the French influence was predominating. This is predominant during this period because the king had spent certain years of exile in France. The French manners and fashion spread from the court to the aristocracy. It also influenced contemporary literature. Then comes how the religious and political relationship. Actually, religious and political conflicts was very much apparent in the society. This era also witnessed the rise of two political parties. As you know, as students of English literature, two political parties were built up in England that still exist: the Whigs and the Tories. These parties are to play a significant role in English politics. So, how these two parties were? What was their ideal? Let's see. The Whigs sought to limit the powers not just of the people and the parliament. Actually, their interest was the parliamentary system of government. They was to seek the power of people in the parliament. Then the Tories, they supported the divine right theory of the king and strove to restrain the powers of the people in the interest of the hereditary rules. A rise of these political parties gave a fresh importance to men of literary ability. Almost all the writers of this period had political affiliations. So some of the writers used to support Tory and some of the people used to support Whig. So they developed or they produced literature based on their affiliation with different political parties. Some is to support the king, some is to support the parliament. So among those, they had a great fraction. For example, uh, one of the greatest lawyers of English literature, John Dryden. As for example, he wrote Absalom and Achitophel, one of the most celebrated poems in English literature. This John Dryden used to support Troy. That means he was in favor of the kingship. The religious controversies are even bigger. The supporters of the Puritan regime were fanatically persecuted. The nation was predominantly Protestant and the Catholics were unduly harassed. The religion of the king What was it? Which religious faction did the king himself follow? And what is the religion of the king, George II? This is a matter of great controversy. This is the people suspect of him having Catholic support. But this was a matter of great flux. His brother James was a papist, I mean a Roman Catholic. As George II had no legitimate heir, it was certain that after him his brother James, a Catholic, would succeed to the throne. Efforts were made to exclude James from the throne. The king sided with his brother and he removed all obstacles for the accession of James. David's famous poem Absalom and Achitophel reflects these religious and political conflicts of the day. Most of the people in England used to support Protestantism. They wanted the king to be Protestant, so they didn't want the Catholic to come back to power. But James, the brother of George II, was the supporter of Catholicism. He was Papish, he was Roman Catholic, and the king, George II, paved the way for his brother James to become the King of England. The result, we are getting ahead to know what is going to happen after James becomes the King of England. It actually brought about a revolution. James II ascended the throne in 1685. He soon revealed his Roman Catholic prejudices and he secretly tried to establish Catholicism in the country. He became unpopular within 3 years, and the whole native rose against him. The bloodless revolution of 1688 called the Protestant William and Mary of Orange to the throne. The country was once again restored to health and sanity. That means before 1688, the bloodless revolution, the people of England used to have or used to experience a very difficult time under the rule of George II and his brother James II. So they wanted to get rid of it. And through a bloodless revolution in 1688, the people of England caused the revolution against James II. This deep and vigorous movement brought about certain changes in the inner social life, with the revival of factions and parties and the excitement caused by the Pope's plot. A collective force and order revived in civic feelings, so that the tone of literature and social life is somewhat modified. With the political and moral transformation, which began in 1688, the very keynote of English literature as of English life was greatly changed. So after 1688, after the revolution, English life, English literature, their feelings, their tone, and the relationship with other institutions of the society got changed. So this is also a process of transformation that was paved by the revolution in 1688. It can be said that the last years of the 17th century form a distinct period. It is a brief but well-marked transition separating the Restoration from the age of Classicism. Then, literature. What was the key issues that got changed or that are very much prevalent or that are apparent in literature? Let's see. Uh, The chief features of this period, in terms of literature, was first, a rise of neoclassicism. The institution marks a complete break with the past. The people believed in the present, the real, and the material. The writers, both in prose and poetry, tacitly agreed upon the rules and principles in accordance with which they should write. Rules and literary conventions became more important than the depth and seriousness of the subject matter. To the writers of the period, uh, they express superficial manners and customs of the aristocratic and urban society, and did not pry into the mysteries of human mind and heart. Second feature is obviously the imitation of the ancient masters. The authors of the period are not endowed with exceptional literary talent, so they turned to the ancient writers, in particular to the legend writers, for the guidance and inspiration. It was generally believed that the ancients had reached the acme of excellence, and the modern poets could not do better than model their writings on the classics. Thus grew the neoclassical school of poetry. The neoclassical or pseudo-classical, they are supposed to be known as pseudo-classicists. They are not real classicists, but they are the follower or imitators of classicists. This neo or neoclassicist could not soar to great imaginative heights or could not penetrate deeply into human emotions. They directed their attention to the slavish imitation of rules and ignored the importance of the subject matter. This habit was noticeable in the age of Dryden, is strengthened in the succeeding age of Pope. Then comes the imitation of the French masters. King Charles II and his companions had spent the period of exile in France. They demanded that poetry and drama should follow the style of which they had become accustomed in France. So they started following French customs, French literary traditions. Uh, Among the French, great French writers whom the authors of the says followed Corneille, Racine, Molière, Beaulieu, uh, Beaulieu's good sensual ideal became very popular. English writers imitated the French blindly. Rather, they copied the worst voices of the French instead of their wit, delicacy, and refinement. So, what did they do? They actually imitated the vicious or negative presentations in the literary works. They couldn't follow the very talent of the great masters of France. The French influence is seen in the coarseness and indecency of the Restoration comedy of manners. The combined influence of French and classical models of tragedy is seen in the heroic tragedy. The French influences are responsible for the growth and popularity of opera. Another issue, if we consider, that is correctness and appropriateness, how much correct and appropriate the writers of the age were in their dealings with social and political and religious as well as other issues in their literary works. The author's the restoration period was imitative and of limited quality, since they lacked creativity and flight of imagination. They abandoned freedom altogether and slavishly followed the rules, so they became the slave of rules. They neglected the creativity. Edward Albert, a critic, writes about them. Thus, they evolved a number of rules which can usefully he summarized in this injunction: be correct. Correctness means avoidance of enthusiasm, moderate opinions moderately expressed, a strict care and accuracy in poetic technique, and humble imitation of the style and Latin classics. Realism and formalism, another obvious part to be considered. Aristotle literature is realistic. It was pretty much concerned with life in London and with details of dress, fashions, and manners. The early Restoration writers, observes W. J. Long. W. J. Long, a critic, observes that the early Restoration writers sought to paint realistic pictures of corrupt code and society and emphasized vices rather than virtues, and gave us coarse, low plays without interest or moral significance. The writers actually exclude all extravagance of thought and language and aimed at achieving directness and simplicity of expression. Dryden accepted the excellent rule for his prose and adopted the heroic couplet as the next best thing for the greater part of his poetry. It is largely due to Dryden that writers developed formalism of style, that precise, almost mathematical elegance, miscalled classicisms, which ruled the English literature for the next century. So, dear students, today let's stop here. Before going to stop or close this session, I request you to have a look at different features presented in this lesson about the Restoration Age, when it started, how was it like, and what the people very much engaged and named while recalling the issues of this age, how the literature was, and what did the writers used to do, etc. etc. Different matters have been uh, focused here. If there have been mistakes, I must apologize. Till then, I'll see you. Keep in touch. Thank you.